Hello, welcome. Today we are looking at the Project Camelot Captain Mark Richards' first interview recall. Kerry Cassidy goes into prison and interviews Captain Mark Richards of the secret space program, and then she goes out to her car and tells her car cam, I suppose, all about it. So we'll have a look at what happened.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Kerry Cassidy, and I've just come back from interviewing Mark Richards in the Gavel prison, and this has been a fascinating experience, I have to say. Way over the top. I mean, just amazing. And I'm going to just reel out the information I was given, which in some cases is kind of mind-blowing and yet a validation of most of what I've been given. He has been a captain in the military, in the Navy.
Captain Mark Richards has been a naval captain, but he is now around 60 years old. Didn't say exactly how old he is, but he's around 60. And he's been in prison for 30 years for murder, which would make him a 30-year-old captain in the US Navy. It's not impossible, but it is unlikely. It's an improbability in this story. Most US Navy captains will be early to mid-40s when they achieve that rank.
The kinds of questions I asked him had to do with getting verification on who's running the planet, what the various races are that are visiting here and that are interacting with humans and aligning themselves with various countries, governments, and military factions. And so I was really asking him very high-level, sophisticated kinds of questions. It wasn't just, what kind of alien, what do they look like, although we do have some of that in there. And apparently, it appears that he was given an okay to release this information gradually.
If the secret space program are going to start doing disclosure, you'd think they'd choose a better route of information than through a guy who's in prison for murder, who says he was framed by the secret space program. You would okay disclosure through him in an environment in which nobody's allowed to take notes.
This is the very first time he's ever been interviewed in this way and for the purposes of release to the public. I can say that he talked about races of ETs that he dealt with directly through the years, and they involve first and foremost what he calls the Raptors, and the Raptor race being a group that look like the Velociraptors to some degree, and I guess maybe they're even descended from them.
It's a shame there's no definite on that, because if they were definitely descended from Velociraptors, we could put together a timeline and all sorts. That they may be, I guess, descended from Velociraptors. It's not so easy to say, but let's cover a little base first. Velociraptors don't look like Jurassic Park Velociraptors. Velociraptors were a lot smaller than that. There's quite a bit of artistic license added in the movie. There's nothing to say a creature descended from a real Velociraptor couldn't be big and intelligent and have opposable thumbs and all this. I'm sure they could, but this seems to have a fantastical basis. It's like they'd look like Velociraptors if Velociraptors were a different animal. It doesn't quite make sense.
That they consider the Earth theirs, that they're an indigenous species to the Earth, and that they really did die out, or actually they left during the end of the dinosaur era, but then some survived and then they returned.
Now we have something of a timeline. The Cretaceous Tertiary mass extinction event, what she's talking about there, what people generally refer to as the wipeout of the dinosaurs, the last of the dinosaurs, that was 65 million years ago. So we have a species that evolved spacefaring technology on Earth 65 million years ago and then left, and then came back and is interacting with the primates, with the human population. On the face of it, you'd say, well, we can't argue much about that, but 65 million years is a long time, even in evolutionary terms. Most hominid species, the journey from ape to human is about 3 million years. So in 65 million years, an already spacefaring creature will evolve way, way, way beyond what humans are capable of now. There would be no comparison. We might not even be able to talk to them. But this is in the very, very, very unlikely category now.
Apparently, and that they are interacting very directly with our military, that they have a joint base and joint operations going on, or had, in the Falklands, and that a current base down there, and it is that they are a species. They really do look like the pictures of them, like this in Jurassic Park.
Well, hang on, this story's changed. They looked a little bit like them before.
And the raptor race being a group that look like the velociraptors to some degree. They really do look like the pictures of them, like this in Jurassic Park. And that they love our luxury items. I was told that they also love cars, luxury cars and things like that. That they have a set of family values. That their first approach to us that was back in, if I remember correctly, 1951.
I'm going to bypass the Jurassic Park howler and even turn a blind eye to velociraptors enjoying luxury cars. It's this long, highly evolved species having these human-like qualities. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about where have they been. 1951 seems a pretty strange year to make contact with us. We've already said that they consider the Earth their own, and they've been out in space for 65 million years. They can obviously survive out there. They can build spaceships. They've got resources from somewhere, and breathable atmosphere, whether it's artificial or otherwise. They can live perfectly well without the Earth. They may have a sort of vague claim to it in this scenario, but why would they wait until 1951? Was that the first glimmer of space program? I have the impression that there's going to be an idea buried in here somewhere, that they contacted us because we were about to start using a space program, and that triggers a potential meeting, therefore they got involved. But it still seems a hokey time to contact the human race. If you were going to lay claim to the planet, you should really, maybe in the 1600s. But the technology they have now, compared to medieval Europe, I suppose Europe would have been about the most advanced place. The technology that we had back then would seem as nothing to their technology, and they may as well have just come down and taken the planet. Right, that's it, it's done, it's over. But after they're 65, okay, let's say they're 62 million years ahead of us in terms of development. their stuff would still look like, we might as well be medieval Europeans for all we can do against such a species. I know I shouldn't laugh. I know it's bad when I laugh. It detracts from the... I can't help it. It doesn't make sense.
Their interaction was initially sort of negative with our race, but once they established relationships, we have become, tacit colleagues. They call us allies, humans allies, and that their initial impulse is to eat humans.
This creature is sounding more and more like the Jurassic Park velociraptor. Captain Mark Richards met these things 30 years ago, or I don't know, even before then, I suppose. Before he went to jail he was doing this. Jurassic Park only came out 10 years ago, so where did he get the nickname Raptor from anyway? They weren't very well known. Raptors weren't very well known about. Even after Jurassic Park, they're not very well known about, because that's not what a raptor is. this it's a raptor, isn't it? It's a raptor. This thing is a raptor. Jurassic Park style raptor. It's not a real raptor. It's not evolved from a 3-foot feathered thing with a big big claws on its heels.
And that they still can, do so at any given point if they get mad or whatever. I was given an example that, somebody could be having a friendly relationship, talking with them, and that if they got angry, they could turn around and eat a kid,
No, you're annoying me now. I'm going to eat that kid. Piss me off. Eat the kid. Piss me off. Eat the kid. Fuck you, man. No, God. Okay, this is not ringing true either. If you think in terms of impulse control, I said earlier some shit about humans taking 3 million years to evolve, just slightly inaccurate. The entirety of human evolution as we know it is within those last 3 million years. The earliest remains of Stone Age tool use were 2.8 million years ago, so that's as far as we know. That's pop-up, that's kind of the appearance of humans, hominid species. But what I'm getting around to saying is 3 million years between hitting something with a club and the society that we have today. The impulse control that humans have developed over the last 3 million years is incredible. Nature just fights and fucks with itself all the time. Nature has that viciousness. There's no impulse control. Your animal impulses are what make you. You can try to teach lions impulse control, but it doesn't necessarily work. Humans have an awful lot of impulse control. In fact, in our society, if you struggle with impulse control, you'll probably be a criminal. You'll be outcast, or regarded as some kind of lowlife. Your actions are closer to the animal world than to what we regard as the human world. Even though we may all have those impulses, we don't act on them. Now, these velociraptors have been around for 65 million years in an advanced society. And for some reason, they struggle with impulse control. If you piss them off, they're going to eat your kid. Not in a humorous way. They're not going to. They won't do it to spite you or to make a political point. They'll eat the kid because they're so fucking angry and they can hardly stop themselves.
That they like to eat humans, but that when you get in these military relationships with them, that they refrain, the way you could imagine sort of a vampire might refrain. In other words, they still have the capacity, but they refrain from exercising it. So they have been establishing and evolving over the last 40 years or 50 years or whatever it is, and their relationship with the humans, and that they have a very close relationship with Mark Richards, actually, who seems to have a very good friend who is among them. What he did describe was relationships that, as they exist between military and various alien races, that are not uniform. In other words, that they have, sort of some individuals, but actually factions within each group that may be, more predisposed to be favorable towards humans than less, and then others that are less so, even within the same races.
I like that bit. That's fleshed out. That makes sense. Yeah. That was a good bit.
But that I did ask him, like, overall agendas for each group. That there are two races of reptilians, that there are actually, many more races of reptilians, but there are two major races of reptilians that are antagonistic towards humans, that want to take over the earth, take back the earth for their own. They do consider it that they own the race, the earth also, that are battling with the raptor race for ownership of the earth, and and that the humans are helping the raptors, or the raptors are helping the humans, the two, to battle these reptilian races, these two races that both have differing agendas, but more or less have to do with taking back the Earth.
Two races of reptilians, one race of raptors fighting against each other for control of the Earth. It's a bit odd then that humans seem to have the Earth. You would say on the face of it, yeah, this is a human-run, human-populated Earth, and there are three advanced civilizations fighting for control of it. It seems from the Raptors' perspective, they fight over it as you would fight over a trophy. But the thing that gets me is that kind of fight. Well, let's say that the Jews, the Muslims and the Christians like to fight over Jerusalem, and especially the Dome of the Rock. They want to own it, they want to have it. It's very visible. That level of interest, that level of fighting is unmistakable. Do they have a more civilized form of war? Do they sort of take it, okay, we all want the Earth, let's not damage it, let's fight out in space? Or is it just a political thing? They just get together and go, give me the Earth, and the Raptors go, no, and that's it. And they go, okay, brilliant, see you next year.
One group of reptilians is humanoid, more humanoid, standing on their legs and so on, and has a more human-like, and has even lost over time their tail and so on and so forth. And they then there's another race that is like a more traditional reptoid looking race with tails, and neither of those are positively oriented towards humans for the most part. There is a group of Draco. They have the wings. We know of them as the Shakars.
Shakar, you can't have that. Jakar is one of the main ambassadors, one of the main characters in Babylon 5. You can't have Shakars as a race. No, you're not having that. Okay, what did you say? Two reptilian races that we don't know where they're from, but they lay claim to Earth. So are we going to say they cleared out during the extinction 65 million years ago, during the event, and came back just like the Raptors? So that doesn't really make much sense. No, okay, we'll put that on ice. Doesn't matter. We'll find out where they came from later. And there's some Dracos. Draco, obviously, Latin for dragon. And they've got wings. We've got dragons. Dragons, reptilians, raptors. It's starting to look like there's a lot of interest in the Earth. And you have to wonder why.
In other words, there are so many different races here that are even operational here, that are coming in and out of the planet. And also that our atmosphere is very hard for them to deal with, for the most part. He did agree that the terraforming of the planet, as I have stated in Camelot numerous times, with the methane and the Fukushima disaster involving radiation, is an effort to terraform the planet, to make it more amenable to certain races of beings, including the reptilians, so that they can be in our atmosphere more easily.
Earth is attractive to all these species, but they can't live here. They can't decide between them whose Earth it is, and yet some reptilian race is terraforming it by causing a nuclear meltdown. I think it's a very limited form of terraforming. You said earlier that the raptors would eat people and children. It's their natural inclination to eat a person. But they didn't evolve alongside us. They've never eaten us in the wild. They might have eaten some monkeys. I'm not sure, I'd have to look that up. But they haven't evolved with us. We're not their natural prey, so why would they have an instinct to eat us? And if they do have an instinct to eat live prey, that means somewhere off-world they've got their own live prey farms. Or jungle, or something like that. And again, if you compare modern humans, we eat meat, we kill animals, we pull fruit off trees. How many modern humans do occasionally hunt live prey? How many modern humans even eat a wild pear or a wild apple or something like that? Most of us just pick it off the tree and go, ugh, what the fuck's that? We want to go run into the supermarket. So these raptors, whose natural inclination is to eat humans, have got live prey somewhere, and they generally indulge, which means they've terraformed something. Whether it's an asteroid, a planetoid, a moon, an entire planet, they've terraformed something if their natural inclination after 65 million years of being off-world is to eat live prey. So what do they all want? What do they want with our Earth? That they can't breathe the air. There's not enough radiation in the air, apparently. Is it us? Do they want the humans? Are they going to eat us? Is it the water? No, because they can't have survived off-world without water either. They must have a way of making these things. I don't see, in this big build of this multi-species interest in our planet, in this solar system, I don't see the point.
What happens is that they are terraforming this planet. They are looking to take the radiation, create a humanity 2.0. They're looking for mutants, just as the X-Men movie states. In other words, that radiation can then cause mutations that can be positive mutations.
We've had a Babylon 5 reference, Jurassic Park, and now X-Men. You can see that, you know, these sci-fi quotes come easily to her mind. It's not encouraging in terms of sincerity and authenticity for this piece. But in terms of mutation, we've been fucking about with cows and dogs and roses and stuff like this for hundreds of years, and we've never had a fucking Magneto dog, a fire-breathing cat, or a rose that can change shape. You know, there is a limit to what mutation can achieve. You won't get superhumans. The best you can achieve is a slight improvement on a natural talent. You might be resistant to the cold, or be able to run fast. You'll never be able to fly. You won't have a fucking tongue that spits out like Toadman's. You won't be able to control the weather from a mutation. Stuff that doesn't make sense wouldn't happen. No, fuck the mutants. They're never going to be any good.
Beings, and that's what they're hoping to land on, is some more superpowers, access to that.